Now that we've got everything set up, we can actually jump in and create our first Lambda function. So to get started, we're going to click on Services, and then we're going to click on Lambda under the Compute section. If you don't have any Lambda functions already, you'll see the Getting Started page. If not, you'll actually see a list of your Lambda functions with the same button, the Create a Function button up the top left. So just click on that button there. We're going to click Author from scratch because we do have our own code. We're going to give our function a name. So we're just going to call this one transcode video. We're going to leave the runtime as Node.js 6.10. And in the role, we're going to select the role that we created before. So leave it as choose an existing role. Then in this dropdown, select our Lambda S3 execute role. Click on Create Function. Now we're going to scroll down and we're going to change some settings. So go down until you see the Basic Setting tab here. And if you wanted to, you can give your function even more memory, which will change the memory and the CPU that's allocated to when this function runs. We're going to leave it as 128 because we don't actually need that much to run this function. What we do want to change is the timeout though. And what this is how much time it's going to let the function run before killing it. Now, since we're calling other API services, we do want to extend this just a little bit, just to make sure that it does actually go through and create the transcoded job. So we're just going to change that to 30 seconds. Now we're going to go back up to the top and click on Save. The next thing that we want to do is we want to package the code that we've got in our lab so we can actually upload it to the Lambda console here. If we scroll down just a little bit, you'll see the function code section here. And there is a little editor window where you can edit the code in line, but we don't want to do that because we've already got the code already made for us. So open a terminal window and navigate to the serverless workshop code that we downloaded previously. Now here's the terminal I've prepared earlier, and I've navigated to the serverless workshop directly. Now don't worry if your terminal doesn't look like this. I've got a custom terminal. I'm using a program called iTerm with ZSH and a custom theme. So your terminal will look a bit different. Don't worry, it's exactly the same. If we have a look at the files that are actually in this directory, we'll just go ls, and we can see that we've got all the lab directories here. So we'll change directory into lab1 and list out the files. And we can see we've got 3 files here. Let's just change into the Lambda directory. And ls again. And we can see that there's one directory called video transcoder. So let's change into that. Now we've got 3 files here. The first is the README, which explains a little bit about the function that we've created and any environment variables or setup steps that you might need. The next is the actual function itself, which is index.js. And finally, there's a package.json file. And what this file does, it gives instructions to npm, or the Node Package Manager, to pull down and install dependencies that we need for this function to run. If we want to have a look inside, I'm just going to cat package.json. And we can see that it pulls in the AWS SDK dependency, because we actually do need that for this function to run. So we're just going to type in npm install. If we list out the directory structure again, we should now see something called node modules, which is where all the dependencies actually lie. Now to package all this up, we've actually created a script or a single command for you that you can actually execute by running npm run pre-deploy. Now before you run it, this can only be run on a Mac or Linux machine. What this function does is, if we actually look back up at the package.json file, is pre-deploy will use the zip command to create a zip called lambda deployment. It'll take all the files in the current directory, but it'll exclude .zip files, .json, and .log files. So we're just going to run this command. Now we're going to list out the directory again, and we should see that there's a lambda deployment zip file here.
And if you're running Windows, you just need to select the files, right click, hit send to compressed zip folder, give it a good name like lambda deployment.zip, and you'll be ready to go. Now what you can't do is click on the whole folder and choose to send that to a zip file, because that will put all of the files in the zip inside a folder in the zip. So we don't want to do that. Lambda can't recognize that. When Lambda looks at something, the zip file must contain all of the files right in the root of the zip file. So this will work. So that's the zip file that you want to upload.
So let's go back to our console. I'm going to click on the code entry type and select upload a zip file. Keep Node.js 6.10 and index.handler. What this refers to is the file name that it's going to look for and the function that it's going to execute in that file to start off. We're just going to upload our zip file, so click on function package, the upload button, and then navigate to the serverless workshop directory. We're going to click into lab 1, click on lambda directory, video transcoder, and select the lambda-deployment.zip file. Next, we need to add 2 environment variables that allow us to pass values into our lambda function for when it runs. So the first one that we're going to send through is called elastic transcoder region. We're going to set that to US East 1. The next environment variable that we're going to pass through is the elastic transcoder pipeline ID. Oops. Now to get the value for the transcoder pipeline ID, I'm going to click on Services. We're going to go to Media. I'm going to right click on Elastic Transcoder and click on Open in New Tab. Now we can see our pipelines here, but to get the pipeline ID, it's a little bit tricky. We just need to click on this little button on the side here, and the pipeline ID is here. So we're going to copy this, go back to our Lambda management console, close the Services tab, and we're just going to paste the value into here. Now to save our function, we're just going to scroll up again, and we're going to click on the Save button. This may take a while, but once it says saved here, then our function has been uploaded. And there we have it, Cloud Gurus. We've uploaded our first Lambda function. Congratulations. In the next step, we're going to test out this Lambda function and our pipeline.